The first 3 hours of the flight had passed in perfect silence. A smooth sky, soft announcements, and relaxed passengers. Then, a jolt. The plane shook violently, and the intercom crackled with a voice no one expected. "Stop sign, we need your full attention. This aircraft is now under our control." The words dropped like thunder. Unknown to everyone, Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional leader of Burkina Faso, was on board, seated in row 178, traveling back from a secret diplomatic mission in Paris. Dressed in plain clothes, a cap over his eyes, and sunglasses hiding his face, even the crew didn't know who he was. Now, he was just another hostage. Flight AF726, Air France, en route from Paris to Ouagadougou, had started like any other afternoon flight. On board were French tourists, business travelers, and Burkinabe citizens returning home. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. It began with a startled scream from a flight attendant. Her tray clattered to the floor, hot tea splashing on her feet. 4 men stood up in the aisle. One of them held something gleaming, cold, metallic. A gun. "Warning, nobody move," one of them shouted in Arabic, tinged with a French accent. "Follow our instructions, and no one gets hurt." Traoré didn't flinch. His military training kicked in instantly. He scanned their formation, their posture, their weapons. He knew these first few minutes were the most dangerous. Chaos was the hijackers' strongest weapon. 2 stormed the cockpit. The other 2 took positions in the front and rear of economy class. Passengers gasped. Some sobbed quietly. Others gripped their children. A few desperately clutched their phones. "No mobile phones, we will collect all electronic devices," barked one man. "No resistance, or you pay the price." Traoré slipped his phone into the seat pocket before they reached him. He stayed still. Observant. Calculating. One of the hijackers returned from the cockpit, standing before the terrified cabin. "Speech balloon, our demands are clear," he said. $10 million. And the release of 3 prisoners from Lante prison. "Meet our terms, or this becomes a grave in the sky." Ibrahim stared into his eyes. The man wasn't a trained killer. His hands shook. He blinked too often. He was driven by desperation, not cold professionalism. That made him even more dangerous. The aircraft began circling over Mali, stalling for time. The pilot, under threat, kept them airborne while negotiations began. Near Ibrahim sat an elderly Burkinabe woman. She trembled silently. A few rows ahead, a young mother clutched 2 small children. Across the aisle, 3 French businessmen whispered frantically. "Speaking head, don't worry," Ibrahim whispered softly to the woman beside him. "We'll go home. All of us." "Are you Burkinabe, my son?" she asked through tears. "I am. And we will not die today." Suddenly, voices were raised near the cockpit. A hijacker shouted angrily, pacing. Something was wrong. They weren't getting what they wanted. In frustration, one of them grabbed a middle-aged French passenger and dragged him forward. "Collision, they're not taking us seriously," he screamed. "Maybe if they hear a gunshot, they'll start listening." In that moment, Ibrahim knew the time for silence was over. He had to act. The first 3 hours of the flight were uneventful. Quiet skies, light chatter, the hum of engines, and occasional laughter from tourists sipping their drinks. But then came a sudden jolt of turbulence. Seat belts clicked. Passengers stiffened. And then, an eerie announcement crackled through the intercom. "We need your attention. This plane is now under our control." On-board Air France flight AF726 from Paris to Ouagadougou, a silent storm had begun. Among the 182 passengers was a man no one recognized, wearing a dark shirt, faded jeans, and a baseball cap. He sat quietly in seat 178, his face half hidden behind sunglasses. That man was Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional president of Burkina Faso. After a secret diplomatic trip to Paris, Traoré had chosen to travel anonymously, avoiding state protocols to ensure safety. But fate had different plans. Suddenly, 4 men stood up mid-cabin. A flight attendant, offering tea, froze as she noticed the metallic gleam of a weapon in one man's hand. Her tray clattered to the ground, scalding tea splashing on the aisle. "Nobody move," barked a voice, thick with a French-Arabic accent. "We've taken control of the aircraft. Obey, and you will live." Panic gripped the cabin. 2 hijackers rushed the cockpit. The other 2 split, one taking control of business class, the other at the rear, shouting demands and collecting phones. Traoré, trained in military tactics, remained calm. He instinctively slipped his phone into the side pocket of his seat, observing every movement with the precision of a soldier and the patience of a leader. Then came the chilling ultimatum. "We demand $10 million and the release of 3 political prisoners from Lante prison in France. Meet our demands, or people start dying." But the hijackers had no idea that among the passengers sat one of the most important African leaders of this decade. If they did, the stakes and their demands would have skyrocketed. Time crawled. The plane circled aimlessly over Mali, awaiting negotiation. In the seat next to Traoré, an elderly Burkinabe woman trembled in fear. "Don't worry," he whispered gently. "You're Burkinabe, aren't you, my son?" she asked with tears in her eyes. "Yes, mother. We'll all go home." Then came a turning point. One hijacker, frustrated, stormed out of the cockpit, grabbed a middle-aged French businessman, and shouted, "Maybe they'll take us seriously if we start sending bodies." That's when Traoré made his move. He stood up, voice strong but calm. "Stop. Negotiations take time. Rash actions will ruin everything, for you and for everyone here." The hijacker turned his gun toward him. "Who are you to speak to me?" "Just a passenger," Traoré replied smoothly. "But I know how talks work. Violence weakens your position." The man paused, eyes narrowing. "Why are you so confident?" "Who are you?" "I worked as a diplomat," Traoré said truthfully. "I can help. Let me negotiate." After a brief, whispered conversation among the hijackers, the leader nodded. "Fine, diplomat. Show us your skills. Come to the cockpit." As Traoré walked toward the front, the elderly woman behind him murmured, "May God protect you, my son." Inside the cockpit, the pilot looked drained. A hijacker manned the radio. "Who's this?" asked the French negotiator on the other end. "A diplomat," said the leader. "He'll negotiate." "Is this a trap?" "No," Traoré interjected. "I want peace. I want these people to go home alive." He studied the hijackers carefully, then asked, "What exactly do you want?" "3 of our brothers, Malik al-Zim, Riyad Hamoudi, Omar Ben-Ani. They're not terrorists. They supported the Tuareg resistance in Mali. They've been jailed for 7 years." Traoré recognized the names. These weren't random criminals. They had become political symbols, rebels against French neo-colonial presence in Africa. "And the money?" "For our movement. To end France's grip on our lands." Traoré nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your fight. But have you thought about your escape? If you land in Mali, special forces will be waiting." The hijackers exchanged uneasy glances. "We'll cross the border. Into the Sahel." "You won't make it," said Traoré. "But there may be another way, if